that, yeah, so that me and you, both of us, can share and learn, right? So if you all know any information with related whatever I'm teaching also, you all can share it in the chat box. Keep yourself engaged, and I'm also going to give out my very best uh, in teaching you and trying to cover up as much as possible with whatever topics that I've chosen today, right? So keep yourself engaged. Are you all ready for the seminar? Because it's going to take start from 4:30 till 7:30. So y'all are the ones. Yes, yes, very good. Okay. There's one more minute for 4:30. We'll wait for some other students also to join. I think most of y'all are having school these days. Might be the last few days of school. Some of your schools must have given y'all study holidays. How many of y'all are on study holidays? No more school. Yeah, no more school. That is no more school after your exams. Yeah, some of y'all are having your mocks. That's good. Y'all are not done with your school. Y'all are going to be done with your O levels, children. You'll have your advanced level as well. For whoever who is going to do advanced level, y'all will be doing your advanced level. So y'all are not done with school. You should be, you should be saying, I'm done with studying. After February, I'm done with studying. That should be your uh, freedom. Even it was the same for me when it came to O levels. We were waiting until that exam was over, and after that, we were completely free. Okay, some of you have put the thinking about it also. Okay, okay. Some of y'all must be planning to do degrees directly without doing your A levels, right? Some of you must be doing your A levels. So, whatever it is, your future, plan it properly. That's the only thing I can say. Okay, so yeah, we'll start now, children. Only nine of you, never mind. Others will join, I guess, in, yeah, others will join. Yeah, so now, before I dive into all the topics or whatever I'm going to teach you, you need to know how you're going to manage your nine subjects along with this ICT subject and prioritize where you're going to learn and what parts you're going to focus more on. Right? So ICT is not a hard subject, or any subject is not a hard subject for as long as you study. Okay. First and foremost thing, make sure you're thorough with the syllabus, with the content, with the topics and lessons that your syllabus has. Grade 10 and grade 11 both will come for your exams. I'm sure you all are aware of that. And you have two papers, paper 1 and paper 2, but your paper duration time is 3 hours, where you will get 1 hour for your MCQ and 2 hours for your structured essay. Right? So in the structured essay, I think you have 7 total questions, and the first one is usually compulsory, and the rest you have to choose, right? So from what I analyzed through your papers, I found out that majority of your lessons that you're being tested more in part 2, paper 2, is practical lessons, right? So that's why I have divided these two lessons for you as theoretical and practical, so that when you all are studying, it will be easy for you and you will make sure you will touch on to all these um, lessons, right? So under the practical lessons, we have word processing, okay, that is MS Word, right? You have PowerPoint related also with that, right? Yes. And the second one, you have spreadsheets and presentations, that is MS PowerPoint and MS Excel. You will be tested on that. And you have database. I think database management system, most of you find it difficult. Why? Because you all must have not done it during school, not practice much about how to create the database, what is foreign key, primary key. Everything is given in the textbook, but you all don't have the practical experience of it. That's why you all find it difficult. Programming, every year, all of us, almost most of us, find programming difficult, but some of us can manage and can do. Okay, for as long as you're clear with your basics and you practice a lot of questions, programming is not hard. Okay, but you need to have some sort of a critical thinking sense to draw the flow charts, what steps should come after the other, right? For example, the signs, the flow chart signs, starting from the start sign to what is the data that's going to be fed in, all those things. In programming, you need to know the order and how to solve that. That is the most difficult thing with programming. Most of us find it difficult, right? HTML and multimedia is not that hard. HTML is very easy. Might be tomorrow when we are doing it, you all will find it easy for you all, right? So these are the practical lessons. Majority of the questions that is coming to your question paper for your MCQ and for your paper 2 is mostly tested on this. Even if you see the A level syllabus, it's the same. O level, it's the basic. In A levels, it's much more advanced, right? So these practical lessons, you all have to try. Even if you study it at school, not enough, you all have to try. You all need to do HTML, you need to create codes and create these web pages, all these things. Programming, database, same. Next, spreadsheets also the same. So majority of what you will be tested mostly for your exam is through these practical lessons, right? But we cannot leave the theoretical lessons also. Why? Because both are important. I'm not saying that if you study practical, we can leave theory. No, you need to study everything. Don't omit any lesson because you will be tested either in paper 1 or paper 2, right? Yes. And now when it comes to theoretical lessons, ICT and fundamentals of computer system, that is the fundamentals of computer system with related to the OS, software, hardware components, the generations introduced under computers, the first generation, second generation, fourth, fifth, sixth, fifth, right? Till fifth generation you have. So all the computers that were used from generation to generation, its features and where it was used, when it was introduced, all these things under computer system you need to remember, right? ICT, where ICT and other related fields where you use technology, that also you all must remember, right? And the next one is this logic gates. That's not hard. And logic gates, and I think I missed, you have binary systems also. Binary systems, or you can say number systems. Yeah, number systems. Both will come for under logic gates. If both lessons are easy, not hard, only thing you need to remember the conversions from which, from binary to division or binary to octal, how do you convert? So there are easy ways to remember. If you all remember that, you if you apply that, you will be able to solve and convert from any form, from binary to decimal or binary to octal or any form, for if you remember the divisions, right? So when we come, if I have time within today, I will touch on that as also, right? And then SDLC, system development life cycle, that is also easy, that's not that hard. ICT and society, again similar to that ICT related field. And operating systems, you will be definitely tested from this part. Every year they give questions from operating system, right? Either from for the MCQ or for the paper 2, right? So if you can divide your syllabus like this and study it, right, practical and theoretical lessons, give importance like that, ICT is not hard, right? So you plan your lessons. How are you going to study? Where are you going to give much more importance? Just take your O level papers and just analyze. Past few years, if you analyze, just check and see. Majority of it is practical lessons only, right? So nothing hard. And certain times in paper 2 the same type of questions have been given, but here and there they have made small changes, right, children? So that is it, nothing much about ICT, it's not that difficult. So you all have some sort of an idea, right? So you all can, the ones who have not started, you all can start now also, no problem, okay, studying. But give out your very best, okay? I hope most of you have got some sort of an idea about the syllabus. If you all have, just drop a message in the chat. Okay, yes. What about the others? I think only one person has responded. Okay, very good. I want the others also to be quite active. Okay, okay, okay. So then let's dive into whatever topics that we are going to discuss today, right? Yeah. Moment. Ah, yes. Give me a minute. So if you all want, you all can note this down. It's already given in your tute as well. I have divided and included this. Okay, so today I'm not going to directly start with MS Excel, although I have put it first. I wanted to start with the theory lesson, that is operating systems, right? So before that, I'll share you all a small document. Please make sure you all have extra papers with you to write the notes and everything. Sometimes your tute won't have enough space, so have extra sheets with you to note down the notes. Can you all see what I have shared in this one? Okay, yes. So now computer hardware and fundamentals. That's what we're going to study first, right? So, okay, so I don't have to go into what is a computer and all of those things, right? You all know. Basically, a computer is an electronic device which has the function of input, processing, output, right? So, input is the person, usually the user only gives the input, and the process is done by the computer, and output is the result or the uh, information that we get once after the data is being input, right? So output is the information that we get. So the computer has certain features, key features. The speed, okay, it can, give me a minute. Yeah. The speed, so it's a device that is fast enough to do a lot of tasks. So that is one thing. Accuracy, any task that is been given to the computer is always accurate and right? So it always gives us a free results from for the input that we uh, enter inside it, right? So whatever in output that we get, it's always error free. And efficiency, it works continuously, and it can do multitasking also. Using one computer, as one user, we can switch between tabs, right? We can multitask and use many applications at the same time for hours. So the computer is a device that helps in being efficient, right? It can work for many hours and multitask at the same time. And versatility is also similar to that. It can perform multiple different tasks simultaneously, meaning at the same time, it can do a lot of tasks. So I don't want to go much into this because this is the basic, right? Yeah. So before we go to that, Yeah. Now here, when it comes to connecting with a computer, you always need a human user, a hardware, and the software, right? So what makes connects this hardware and software is this operating system, right? So operating system actually acts like a interface between the user and the hardware, and you know that operating system is a software, right? It is a part of a software. It belongs under the category of system software. So this operating system acts as a user interface between the human user and the hardware, right? Although we have hardware, without software we cannot use a computer device. So that is why the operating system plays a major role in, right? So whenever we look into the basic components of a computer, we divide it into two categories. One is software, the other one is hardware, right? So before we get into what software is, I'll take computer. Okay. Okay, I'll take this computer, right? This computer. So you can divide the computer into two parts. It's made up of two parts. One is the hardware and the other one is the software. I'm writing it in a very short form, right? So if you can divide the hardware, you can divide the hardware further into internal hardware devices and external hardware devices. Right? We are going to look into each of these devices. Now, internal hardware devices are the devices that is fixed to the computer. Right? For example, like the motherboard, the CPU, the registers. Right? You find it internally, that is fixed. External hardware devices are devices that is externally connected to the computer, right? So for example, the input and output devices that you study, for example, like the monitor, the keyboard, the mouse, all these are input and output devices, right, which belong to the external category. We can see them, right? You can see them, and you can remove them also from the computer. You can externally connect them to the computer, right? So internal hardware devices are the ones that's already attached. Usually it comes manufactured within the computer itself, right? So this is about that. So software, we know there are two types: system software, application software. Under system software only operating system comes, right? We'll get into system software later on. For the time being, I will start with hardware devices and explain in detail about each of the internal and external hardware devices, right? Yes. So I think you all must have got some sort of an idea about what we're going to cover through this lesson, okay, this topic. Yes. You all can write it down. Okay, so before we get into that, you all know about the types of computers as well, right? The supercomputers, mainframe computers, mini computers, and microcomputers. So computers are divided, these types of computers are divided based on the size, speed, processing power, and how expensive these computers are, right? So supercomputers are the largest computers, the most expensive computers, and you can't see them used in offices or in schools. You will see them used in huge organizations, right? They are used for mainly high computing power. It can do a lot of calculations in 1 minute, right? So supercomputers are very expensive, and they can do complex scientific calculations, and they use these in large organizations, for example, like the NASA organization, right, in space. So in order to calculate all the engineering with related to the scientific and engineering calculations, all that is done by the supercomputer, right? So just remember where these supercomputers are being used, right? And remember, these are huge computers that is used in big organization, right? Yes. And their size, they are big in size than other types of computers. So the second type of computer is this mainframe computer. They are smaller than supercomputers, right? In size, they are smaller than supercomputers. They are used for sharing and retrieving and saving data, and also supports a lot of users simultaneously. Okay, so they are also called as, you can call them as server computers. So these internet server provide service providers, for example, like an organization like Google, right? Now, how do you think whatever you search in Google, the information is provided instantly from you? Where do you think this information is being stored? In server computers. There are so many server computers in the whatever organization that is providing this service for us, right? As a search engine, these these service providers, they have their own a place where they have a lot of server computers, right? So this server computers, what it does is, it helps in sharing information and saving data, right? And also anytime to retrieve the data, to get the data, to find whatever you want. So that's why it's very easy for us. It happens very instantly when you go to Google and use this Chrome's search engine, and you search for something, instantly you will get the information. Why? Because these server computers play a huge role in companies like Google, right? Microsoft. So mainframe computers are used in these large organizations, right? Yes. And apart from that, you have mini computers. Mini computers are smaller than mainframe computers and smaller than supercomputers. And they are not very expensive also, children. And it's used in institutions like banks, hospitals, right? Schools and government offices. Now, for example, say your school. Okay, your school uses a mini computer server, right? So it can facilitate for many users within a small circle of people who are using it. Usually, these mini computers are used by private organization companies, right? Not public. Not everyone can access the servers in these mini computers. Only a certain group of people. For example, say there is a company or a bank, for example, say Sampath Bank. So Sampath Bank, whoever who uses the computers in the Sampath Bank, they only can access their database, right? They only can access their servers, right? So this is, mini computers are usually used in private organizations, small organizations, and they are not very expensive, and it facilitates multiple users to use one system at the same time, right? So it's similar to a server computer. It's not same as mainframe, but mini computers also play a role in sharing, retrieving, and saving data, right? Yes, same function, but used in two different places. Mainframe used in bigger organizations like Google, Amazon, YouTube, all these organizations. Mini computers, you can say, in a small environment, a private organization. For example, like Sampath Bank, it has its own server to connect the employees to work or to retrieve any, you can say, bank account details or something like that, right? So like that, each bank or each small organization has its own server. Public people like us cannot get into their servers, because it's only allowed for the employees of that company to use those server computers. Now, microcomputers is the smallest category, right? Microcomputers are the devices that we use in our day-to-day life. For example, the laptops, the desktops, the tablets, our mobile phones, right? They are small in size, and they are also called as personal computers. Why? It is easy for, we use it for our personal work, right? We can carry it from place to place, and it has a limited memory capacity compared to all the other types of computers, right? Supercomputers, they have a huge memory capacity, because why? It does a lot of calculations just within 1 minute, right? More than 6 billion or 6,000 calculations, right? Mainframe computers, same thing like that. So the capacity, memory capacity is bigger compared to microcomputers. Microcomputers, we have a smaller memory capacity. Okay, so that is about the types, four types of computers. All what you need to study about this, how different each of these computers are in terms of their size, and how fast they are, and expensive, and where it is used. Just remember that, that's enough, because most of the time you will be tested for your MCQ only in this part, right? Yeah. Yes, so that is there. Okay, so the next part I told you was hardware devices, right? Like I was explaining. Now, hardware devices, again, we're dividing into two types of devices: internal hardware devices and external hardware devices. So under external hardware devices, external hardware devices, we study about um, input and output devices. So under input and output devices, we first study about the input devices. Input devices are the devices that are connected, right? They're like pointing devices or scanners or readers, or we can call them as image related devices. All these are all input devices. We are dividing it further into three categories: pointing devices, scanners and readers, as well as image and video devices, right? So under pointing devices, remember the keyboard, okay, is one sort of a pointing device. Mouse, touch screen, joystick, and light pen. So all these are pointing input devices, right? Pointing input devices. And under that, we have the scanners and readers. So these flatbed scanners are scanners. Another name you can give is photocopy machines that you find in these bookshops. What it does is, when you place a document, now imagine this is the device, okay? And when you place that document or something, it scans. There's a separate device that scans that document, and that document details which is being scanned is fed inside this machine. So when the machine reads that and scans the information, it outputs the printout, okay, the photocopy. So scanner is a input device. We feed the data in, right? And output, we get a copy of that document that we share. And barcode reader another input device, where behind every product we know we have a barcode. Barcode is like, you take a water bottle or a packet of chips or anything like that, you will have behind that product something with small black lines. Those are called as barcode lines. Those are magnetic lines. So you have this machine called the barcode reader, which when you show that barcode reader to the product barcode, it scans that barcode and gets the relevant information of that product and enters it into the system. If you go to places like Kiels or Cargills, you must have seen this, right? These machines where you have a small sound that comes, right? It scans the barcode in order to get the details of that particular product. So in here, the barcode is only a form of inputting information to the barcode reader. So that barcode reader reads the barcode lines and gets the information of the relevant product, right? Identifies what sort of a product it is. And MICR is magnetic ink character reader. That is also another input device which reads lines, magnetic ink lines in bank checks, right? So it's used in a lot of banks. So this device is also another device where it reads these small magnetic lines in the bank checks and feeds the system or the computer with that relevant information that is being captured, right? OCR again, it transforms or changes text, right? It changes text. It captures these text, reads and captures these text of a particular document, or you can say a small this one also. OMR, it's optical mark character reader, okay, or optical mark reader. It's used in uh, identifying or reading these light colored pencil marks, right? Usually it's used in examination places. In our country, it's not like that. But in abroad, to mark these MCQ papers of students, they use this device called OMR. So what it does is it reads these pencil marks and automatically corrects the MCQ. So that is the information is already fed into the device. So when it reads the student's mark sheet, the device will enter the necessary details, right? It will correct it. Okay, so that's why those educational systems are much more advanced than ours. In our one, it is manually marked by the teachers, but in other countries, to mark these MCQ papers, they use this device called OMR, right? So it is a type of a scan, right? So we use this device to input information, and in return, we get the output as well, right? So flatbed scanner, barcode reader, MICR, that is magnetic ink character reader, OCR, and OMR are all input devices, right? Yeah. So apart from that, we have a third category of input devices, that is image and video input devices. Digital cameras to capture images, webcams for video conferencing, right? CCTV, closed circuit TV, you know what the use of it is, and ATM card, that is also a image and video input device, right? So that is about it. And also mouse and keyboard comes under pointing devices, right? Yeah. So this is basically the input devices. If you want to remember how about these input devices, imagine how it works. Like for example, a keyboard, if you press a key in a keyboard or a letter in a keyboard only, that letter will be visible in the document that you're typing. So you as a user, you need to input that relevant information. So mouse also same thing. Mouse, when you move the mouse, only then the mouse pointer will move on the screen. Touch screen, same. Joystick, same. So remember how a particular device works. From that, you identify the input and output devices. It's not difficult to identify input and output devices. You don't have to memorize also. Why? If you for as long as you remember how that particular device works, you can answer any sort of a question that you face under input or output devices, right? Most of us we memorize, but we fail to understand how that device works. So if you understand the way it works now, how I explain, flatbed scanner similar to photocopy machines, barcode reader, it reads that barcode lines of a particular product. That barcode machine reads those lines like that. So OCR, OMR, all these are machines, right? You need to input data into it. That's why it's called as input devices, right? Yeah. So remember how the devices work. So with that, you will remember and identify the input and output devices, right? Yeah. So the next part, let me erase this. If you all want, you all can quickly jot down this, because I don't have any way of sharing this presentation slide. I want you all to mark down all this. Okay, so classify it into how I classified it. Okay, hardware, under hardware you have external and internal hardware. Under external hardware devices only we are studying this input and output devices, right? Yeah. So under external only we are studying about input and output devices. And this is input. You all know that. So classify it like that and quickly make your short notes if you all have not made. Okay. So we'll go to the next slide. Uh, Moment. Okay. Output devices. Now, output devices you can classify into two types as soft copy and hard copy. Okay. So whatever input that is being sent to the computer, okay, is being processed and delivered outside through these devices only. For example, the monitor screen. Like I told you, whenever you press a key in the keyboard, if you want to see whatever letter you have pressed is visible, you can see it through the monitor screen, right? So monitor is a output device, a soft copy. The reason why we call it soft copy is, children, and hard copy is, now soft copy is something that you cannot physically touch or see. You can see but you can't physically touch. Hard copy, you can see it, at the same time you can touch it, like a printout paper. Okay, an output of a printout paper, right? That is a hard copy. Soft copy you can't, so that's why we call it as a soft, these devices as soft copy devices. So under monitors, we have three different types of monitors that was introduced from generation to generation. Now the oldest type from this is this cathode ray tube monitor, which is very old. Now you don't get to see them. Okay, they were used at the beginning stages, and it was functioning through a type of a tube. You can say a fluorescent like um, color, right? So you have that fluorescent like thing that gives the green color to it. I think you all must have seen it in movies or something, right? It has this screen where the screen color is green in color, right? The monitor screen is green in color, and the size of the monitor, children, it's huge, right? Now nowadays when you look at our laptop monitors or the desktop monitors, they are flat, right? Front and the back is flat. But this cathode ray tube monitor, it's huge and big. And LCD is also a next another type of monitor, right? LCDs, it stands for liquid crystal display. It is flat, right? That's why CRT is called bulky. Why? Because it's big in size. LCD is the second generation type of monitors that is flat, and it consumes less electricity compared to cathode ray tube. The CRT monitors at that time, it consumed a lot of electricity. LCD and LED monitors consume less electricity, right? So the present monitors that we use is this LED monitor, which has all these blue, right? You can see that we say it as blue screen, right? Blue screen also. That's this technology, blue screen technology that is used in LED monitors, right? Yeah. And these are the three types of monitors: CRT, cathode ray tube; LCD, second generation monitors; LED, the present generation, or you can say the third generation monitors. Nowadays, LED TVs, LED monitors, all these are the types of monitors that we use. We don't use LCD or cathode ray tube. Okay, so that. And then multimedia projector is another type of output device that, so what the projector does is projects computer output onto a large screen or wall of presentations. That's why whatever output that that you need to bring it to a large screen, you can use this uh, multimedia projector and connect that multimedia projector to the computer and display the content or output in a huge screen. So that is also another output device. And speakers is also another output device. Audio is being outputted from it, audio or sound or music, right? So basically any type of sound that is being outputted from the computer is outputted through the speaker, right? If you do not have the speakers, you cannot hear anything that you're watching or listening to. So these are the three types of um, soft copy output devices. Now, apart from these soft copy output devices, under hard copy, we have two devices, printers and plotter. Okay, plotter machine, that's a different machine. So we look into printers. So printers, when you say, it produces these text and graphics on paper, right? We have nowadays we have the non-impact printer, right? We have these laser printers that we use, not the olden type of printers, and they have two types of printers. Some printers with color, some without color. All right. So printers is a output device that prints or produces the texts in a hard copy form. Right. So whatever document you request the printer to print it for you, it is being printed onto that paper. So under that we divide printers based on its function into impact printer and non-impact printer. Impact printers are printers that was used at the beginning, first generation. Non-impact is after these printers were outdated, right? After these printers cannot be used no longer, they discover these types of printers. So under impact printer, the main problem for impact printer is this sound, right? There's a lot of sound that comes when the machine works and prints these documents. But non-impact printer are the present day printers that we use. In these printers you don't have that sound system, right? So and impact printers have this type of striking head. Okay, it has a small striking head. Imagine this is the printer, right? It has some sort of a thing like a ribbon, okay, which is black in color. Those days printers were not able to print colorful documents, right? So this, there's a small striker like thing. So when the paper goes inside the printer, this striker head strikes on this ink roller, or the, you can say it's like a roller only, right? Strikes on that roller and that roller sticks to the paper and the document is being printed, right? And there are three types of impact printers: dot matrix printer, line printer, uh, and the functionality of this is it's noisy and low quality, right? Yes. And even if you see the, if you have an impact printer, if you see, once after you print it out and you touch the surface of that paper, you will see some sort of a black color like that comes on your hand, right? That is the impact of this printer. It's low quality, right? The printers are not good quality. Even if you slightly dust it off, that ink can go away, right? So it is noisy and low quality printing, but people used it back then, right? Yes. And the second type of category is this non-impact printer. So these non-impact printers are the present day printers that we use. There are different brands of printers, right? So the specialty of this printer is it is fast, one thing, not like impact printers, less noisy and very expensive, right? Less noisy and very expensive. So under that you have this laser printer and the inkjet printer, right? And presently you have colored printers also, which prints documents with pictures and images in a colorful form, right? So this laser printer and inkjet printer and yes, thermal printer are three types of non-impact printers that is used at present, right? Yeah. And apart from that, you also have the plotter. Plotter is another machine that is used for printing large, high quality graphic images. So it's used in architecture companies only mostly. You have this pen, graphic pen. Using that graphic pen, they draw on this plotter machine to design, right, to design these houses, buildings. So plotter machine is also a type of output device, a hard copy output device. So it's still that part, are you all clear? I hope it's clear for you all. Just respond in the chat, please. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that's for output devices and input devices. Now we'll go to the next part. Give me a moment. Output, input. Now we can get into the memory devices. Okay, computer memory. These are also external. Yeah, so far till now we were learning about the hardware devices, right? Under hardware we divided into input, internal hardware and external hardware, and we divided the external hardware into two categories as input devices and output devices. Now I explained the functions of those devices, and I explained the category, the devices that come under each category. Now we are going to look into this internal hardware devices. So when we look into these internal hardware devices, children, we can divide now this hardware devices is related to the computer memory, right? It's related to the computer memory devices. So we are dividing these hardware devices into two types, computer memory devices. We are dividing into two types as main memory and secondary memory, right? You all have studied that, right? Main memory and secondary memory. So main memory devices, under that you have the RAM, right? You have the RAM, you have the ROM, and you have the cache. Okay, so RAM, ROM, and the cache. So that is under the internal devices. We'll come into the CPU part as well, right? Yes. And apart from that, you have the secondary uh, memory devices also. Secondary memory devices are divided into three categories. One, you can say, is the magnetic media. Magnetic media, I'll put it as MM so it's easy. Magnetic media. Second one, you have the optical media devices. Okay, optical media devices. And the next one, you have the solid state media devices, right? Solid state media devices. So under this, when we look into each of these devices, now the RAM, you have two names, other names. You can also call it as physical memory, and you can call it as main memory or primary memory. Three names, physical memory, physical memory, main memory, and primary memory, right? So this is the name given to random access memory, RAM. Three other names that is given, right? Yeah. Apart from that, the ROM, you can say it's connected with this part called the firmware. That is where the booting up of the computer is being done. So the RAM and the ROM, remember, they are two different parts which is connected to the computer memory, right? And the third type is this cache memory. Okay, yeah. So we'll check into each of the characteristics of RAM and ROM. Now, when you look into the characteristics of RAM, this RAM is also called as temporary memory. Why? Okay, temporary memory. It's called as temporary memory, or else it's called as volatile memory. The reason why it is called as temporary memory or volatile memory is because it stores data only when the computer is being on. Right? Once after the computer is switched off and you're no longer using the computer, all the data that you are currently using, which is not being saved, is lost. Now imagine you're working on a MS Word document, okay, and your computer suddenly switches off and you haven't saved this document also, then all the data is being lost. Why? Because you have not saved it in the computer memory. So this permanent storage is done through this secondary memory devices only, children, right? So usually this main memory devices is related with the computer. It works with the computer when the computer is currently working only. This RAM, ROM and cache, these three types of memory, whenever the computer is switched off, these three memory actively works with the CPU. The secondary memory, on the other hand, plays a major role in storing permanent data and information, right? So if you forget to save your document in before this computer is being switched off or something happens to your device, then that data is being lost, right? So whatever document or anything that you're working on, that's why they tell you to save the document before you use it, right? The reason why we save it, when you create the document and you save the document that you have done, it is stored in the secondary storage, right? So whatever is being stored in the secondary storage is permanently stored, right? So that is where your hard disk drive also falls in. We'll go in detail later, right? So now this the reason why this is called as temporary memory is because only when the computer is switched on, the data is available. Once after the computer is switched off, no data is being saved. So the RAM works with the computer only when the computer is switched on, right? It stores data only when the computer is switched on. Once after the computer is switched off, no data is being saved, it's been lost, right? So that is about RAM. And you can randomly access and read and write also. This also you can read and write. That's why it's called as read and write. It has the ability to read and write also, the RAM. Okay, that's why whenever you want to edit a document that you have created, you can edit it instantly without any problem. Why? Because of this RAM. The RAM only deals with information that the computer is currently working with, the data that it's currently working with, right? Yeah, yeah. So read and write ability also this RAM has. So the second type of memory is this random access memory. So it's related with the computer booting system, right? The ROM. Now this ROM is, you cannot read or write it. Okay, you cannot read or write it. Cannot read or write. Or write, and you cannot erase also. You can't erase. Why? Because this ROM, the information in the random read only memory is created when it is being manufactured, right? So not your operating system, the BIOS, the you all have studied, right? The BIOS and all the input and output functions, all these things are stored in the ROM. You can't erase it, nor can you edit it, right? You cannot erase it, or you can't edit it. Okay, you can read only, cannot write. Okay, change that small part. You cannot read, you can read but cannot write, and you cannot erase the information in the ROM. So because of this function, it is known as volatile memory as well. Volatile memory. Okay, volatile memory. Why? Because it stores information permanently. You cannot write and cannot erase. Okay, it is created when the machine or the selected devices, when the hard drive or the computer, motherboard, whatever information is already installed, cannot be erased. Why? It is being created by the manufacturers themselves. So that's why it is called as volatile memory, right? Sorry, change it as non-volatile. Non-volatile, and this should be volatile memory. Just change that, okay? This is volatile memory. RAM is volatile memory. ROM is non-volatile memory, right? So if you all want, you all can write down the necessary information. Okay. Okay, so that is it with ROM and RAM. Now the second type of memory is this secondary storage memory, right? Secondary storage memory, under that we have three types of categories. Magnetic media. Okay, we have magnetic media. Under magnetic media, you have the hard drive. You can call it as hard drive disk, and then under that you have the floppy disk. These are all devices that is coming under magnetic media. Floppy disk, and you have magnetic tape. Okay, yes. So the second category under secondary storage devices is optical media. Optical media, I'll explain each of it. Optical media devices, you have CD, DVD, and Blu-ray. Okay. And the final category is solid state media devices. Solid state media devices. So under this only you will have the USB pen drives, USB flash drive, or you can say pen drive, and memory card. Pen drive and the memory card. Right? So now when we look at the hard disk drive, in this the main function of this hard disk drive is to store information permanently. So all your files and folders are stored inside this hard disk drive, right? In a arranged manner, there is a separate system where the OS only deals with that storing files, right? File management system, we say that. So all these files and folders, directories, documents, all these are being stored in the hard disk drive. And usually the storage capacity of this is quite high compared to the other devices, right? The compared to optical media and solid state media devices, the hard drive has a big storage capacity. You all have studied, I think you all have studied about storage capacity, GB, MB, all those things, right? GB, gigabytes, megabytes, terabytes, um, petabytes, all these things. So usually it's going to be, there are some hard drives that are in TB, some of them are in GB, right? So that's usually the memory capacity. Some of them presently, the hard drive disks are GB, right? The memory capacities. There are some with terabytes as well, right? Or petabytes. So that is about hard disk drive. And the second one is floppy disk. Floppy disk is also a magnetic media device. It's small, like similar to a CD only, but it's very small in size. I don't know whether you all have seen it. It's very small in size. That is also a storage device. Okay, you can connect it. You have to put it inside the computer and um, store the information, right? Okay, so now some of you had asked to explain about the um, memory capacity. The smallest one, bit, right? And then you have byte, okay? And then bit, byte, MB, and you have GB, okay, and you have bit, byte, MB, GB. Write it properly for you. Some small problem with the knife. And you have, before that, you have kilobyte. Sorry, I missed that. Kilobyte, bit, byte, kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte, and terabyte. And finally, petabyte, right? Yeah. So bit is the smallest, okay? And one, this is the smallest. And then you have the byte. 8 bits equals 1 byte, okay? 8 bits only makes 1 byte. And you have KB, that's the next biggest unit. So when you look into the order in this way, the order of the storage capacity increases. Okay, now bit is the smallest. Byte is bigger than the bit. MB, byte is smaller than MB, like that. So GB, likewise, um, sorry, KB, no, I put the KB here, it's not visible. Byte, byte is bigger than, byte is smaller than KB, right? MB, you have, MB is bigger than KB, and GB is likewise bigger than MB, TB bigger than GB, and petabyte, right? So likewise, you have a lot of other storage capacity. This one also, for your information, you have to know till terabyte only. Bit, byte, kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte, and terabyte, right? So 8 bits equals 1 byte, and 1 goes as 1024, right? So it increases 1024 yeah, 1024 KB equals 1 MB, like that. So it goes as in the value of 1024 only it will go, right? So just mark this down for you all. It's a small glitch in the. I'll just put the conversions for you all quickly. Bits is the smallest unit, and byte, and now it's okay. Byte equals 8 bits, and KB, we have KB. KB is 1024, we take it like that. 1024 bytes equals 1 KB. 1024 bytes equals, let me write it again. 1024 bytes equals 1 KB. Likewise, 1024 kilobytes equals 1 MB, right? So likewise, it goes like that. 1024 MB, I'll just write it shortly, equals 1 KB, right? Sorry, 1 GB. So KB, MB, GB, and you have terabyte. 1024 GB equals 1 terabyte. So this is how it's based on this 1024 only. Nibble also you can take, but nibble is we don't consider under the conversions. We'll take nibble also, smallest. Right? You can take, but we don't use nibble much. It's equals to 4 bits. Right? So smallest unit is bits, and then you have usually we don't take nibble. You cannot erase this. Give me. Oh, the whole thing went. Okay, never mind. Just don't take the nibble. Nibble, we go with bits only, children, as the smallest unit, and then we take bytes, bits, bytes, and then kilobytes, megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte, and petabyte, and like that, so on. You have other storage capacity units, right? So out of this, in when you go in this hierarchy order, when you go in this order, right, the storage capacity increases. But when you go from terabyte side, when you go like from terabyte, gigabyte, megabyte, kilobyte, byte, and bits, it reduces, right? So gigabyte is smaller than terabyte. Megabyte is smaller than gigabyte, like that, right? So that is the order that it goes. So you all just have to remember when it comes to conversions. Now sometimes if they give you with related to operating systems, hard, you won't get this. Usually for A levels only they will give when it comes to the storage capacity or memory management systems, they might give you like to calculate the RAM size, the capacity, right, of the hard drive, particular hard drive. So they might say if one partition is like 4 KB, how many, what is the total storage capacity if you have 8 portions, something like that. So that is with related to advanced level, you will get for conversions and to find the storage capacity. But for your information, what is enough is the conversions and how big these um, storage capacity units are, right? So that is enough. So apart from that, now coming back to the same part that we were learning, floppy disk. So floppy disk is also a storage capacity device, right? Usually it's externally only connected to the computer, right? And you have magnetic tape also. Magnetic tape is also another device, storage capacity device that we use. Nowadays, they don't use magnetic tape much or floppy disk much. The usage has been very outdated, but hard disk drive you have, right? Hard disks, it's always uh, built in with the computer, right? Yes. And the second type is this optical media. You under that you have CD, DVD, and Blu-ray. Now, when you compare the capacity size of a hard drive and a CD, you will see CDs usually fall under MB and KB categories only, right? So it's usually in MBs, right? So the storage capacity of this optical media devices is much lower than the hard disk drive storage capacity, right? So usually it can be 4 KB, 4 MB, right? 4 MB, or sometimes 600, 700 MB. Now this DVD and Blu-ray, they have a big storage capacity in terms of MB, not hard disk drive. When you compare optical media and hard disk drive, optical media storage capacity is less, but hard disk drive, it is more. So a CD, DVD and Blu-ray, their storage capacity is less than the hard disk drive. Then the last one we have, you all know about CD, right? You have different types of CD, CD-R, CD-ROM, right? Readable, rewritable, right? You have like that. That just go through. And DVD and Blu-ray also, you have two types, right? Blu-ray only, you all know it's 3D, under that 3D category, Blu-ray, right? So CD, DVD and Blu-ray, when you compare, it is with less storage capacity compared to hard disk drive. Then finally, this solid state media devices, under that the pen drive and memory card. So pen drive and memory card both are externally connected. Most of the time pen drives, they are externally connected. Their storage capacity is less. Now memory card, we also call it as SD card. Why? It is connected to your phones. We don't connect it to the laptop. Mostly the small devices, the tablets, the phones that you use, they have some thing called SD card. Another name for SD card is this memory card, right? So pen drive and memory card fall under solid state media devices, right? So these are the categories under secondary storage devices. Right? Clear for y'all? Any doubts? I think you all just, I also got a little bit confused with the memory capacity. Other than that, I think all the others are clear for you. Okay. Can we go to the next part, which is, I forgot to mention about cache memory, no, children? Yes. Cache memory. Cache memory comes under main memory devices. Okay, cache memory, I'll explain below. Cache memory does not come under secondary storage devices. Okay, it comes under main memory devices only. It is connected outside the CPU. Now, what does this cache memory do is it stores the data that is frequently used by the computer. Right? Now, for example, you have the RAM, you have the cache memory, and you have the CPU. So this cache memory, okay, this cache memory is in between the RAM. I told you, you can call it as primary memory as well. And you have the CPU. Okay, so now what happens is whatever data that is frequently accessed by the CPU is stored in this cache memory. Right? So similar to the same uh, functionality of the RAM only. That's why I said you, it once after the computer is switched off, this information is being erased. It's not permanently stored in the RAM or the cache, right? So whatever data that is frequently used, currently being used by the computer device is stored in this cache memory, and it is not connected with the CPU. It is connected outside the CPU, and the memory capacity of this is very less compared to the RAM, right? It is very less, and it is very fast also. Cache memory is fast, right? Yes. So the data that is frequently accessed by the CPU is stored in this cache memory. Sometimes, now say the CPU needs some data that or input, it will access the cache first. If the cache has that relevant data, then the cache memory provides that to the CPU. If it is not available in the cache, then the cache memory gets it from the RAM, and the RAM sends it to the cache, and it uh, gives it to the CPU. So you know the CPU is the only device that actively plays a major role in managing processes. So when we have studied process, you all have studied about process management. When a task is happening, a particular process is happening, there are certain times where necessary inputs or outputs are needed. So this necessary input output related data is stored in this cache memory, and it is fast, and the storage capacity is quite less, and it is also known as CPU memory. Why? Because it is frequently used by the CPU. So that is it for cache memory. Cache memory comes under um, main memory devices only, right? So secondary memory clear. I think you all have got some sort of information about secondary memory, and RAM and ROM also you all must have got some sort of information. Now all these what we studied are all internal hardware devices. Now I didn't still come to the this part yet, the CPU part for y'all. Now we will discuss with the CPU. Okay, so I'll delete this. Yeah. Now CPU is connected inside the computer device only, whether it be your laptop or your desktop computer. It is connected inside the computer, and it is a part of the motherboard. Right? We have some a device called the motherboard where different circuits are being uh, attached and created into it. So one such is this CPU, right? So the CPU has three components. I think you all are aware of that. First, you have the control unit. Yeah, you have the control unit. It's also known as CU. Okay, it controls and manages all the activities that is happening between the between the devices, right? Input output devices with the RAM. All these things are managed by the control unit. And then you have ALU, with related to the mathematical calculation and instructions. All these are dealt by this ALU device, right? Yes. And then you have registers, memory registers. You have different types of registers in your syllabus. They haven't given that about all those registers, but there are around like 5 registers that are connected with the CPU, right? So now this CPU is made out of these three components only, right? It's control unit, ALU, arithmetic logic unit, and memory registers. You don't need to know what the memory registers are and its functions because it's not given in your syllabus, but just remember there is around like 5, and all this is connected together, right? And then you have the other devices that's connected to the CPU. Now this is, I'll write CPU here. Yeah. The main memory, you have the RAM, and you have the secondary storage memory as well. Okay. Secondary storage memory. So secondary storage memory, you all know what secondary storage memory is, right? So it permanently stores the data and information. And on this side, you will have input. I'm just trying to draw a diagram for you to explain the way in which the CPU communicates and works with the RAM and the secondary storage and input and output devices. Okay. Yes. So this control unit manages everything that takes place between the CPU, the necessary input output devices. All this is managed by the control unit. So basically what the control unit does is it manages the input output devices, secondary storage devices, as well as the main memory, the RAM also. So it's managing all the devices that's connected. Why? Because you know that in order for a process to take place, the necessary information, the inputs and outputs should be received by the CPU. So to correctly function all those things and make sure the necessary input and output is provided to the CPU, this control unit manages all these things. And ALU on the other hand, it takes care of these arithmetic and logical instructions. Mathematical operations are all dealt by this ALU. Right? Registers is also another thing that is controlled by the control unit, right? So whenever it comes to a process, whenever the CPU wants information, it gets from the RAM, right? So the RAM and the CPU works coordinatively to fulfill processes that are taking place within the computer. When we come to process management system, we will study how this RAM storage space is divided, right? How this CPU gets the necessary process and executes that process from the RAM, right? So the main purpose of this RAM is to provide that necessary data, right, to the CPU whenever the CPU requires it in order to process that function, right? To complete that particular process, whatever is needed is directly provided by the RAM, right? So even the input and output is also uh, taken by the CPU only. So sometimes if you say a process is taking place or you're typing a document, right? So uh, if you don't continue typing it, there are chances that this CPU can stay in idle. Idle means that no task is being done. It's called as idle state, right? So when that idle state takes place, this CPU cannot just wait like that, right? It has to do some tasks. So that's why when there is a process, the CPU breaks down one process into sub small processes and functions it. So say if you have two processes, process 1 and process 2, right? So this process 1 and process 2 is divided into several sub processes. And now see, process 1 is a MS Word document, and process 2 is a you can say a printout like document, right? So now this process 2 only is executed by the CPU, right? One part of it is only executed by the CPU. Suddenly the computer says that there should be some sort of an input that should be given to this second process in order to continue it, right? So in that case, just because now this second process needs some sort of an input, the CPU cannot stay idle. It cannot stay without doing any task. It has to do something, right? So at that in that case, what happens when this second process is at pause? What the CPU does, it asks the RAM, is there any other process that I can do until I get the relevant input for the process 2? So I'm just telling it in words, okay? But this happens very fast. So when the CPU asks the RAM if there is any process, and the RAM says, okay, there is another process called process 1 that is with related to MS Word, you can execute that. So what happens? The RAM quickly schedules means it orders the CPU to follow the new processes part. So the CPU constantly keeps working, right? Although we keep our laptops idle, we don't give any sort of a commandment in the back end, still the CPU keeps functioning. So this RAM has the necessary data that the computer is currently working with, especially with related to processes. So when one process goes idle, the CPU asks for another process to execute, so it keeps executing. So if it's related to mathematical calculation or anything, right? So when one process is idle, a new process is being started. So this CPU and RAM plays a huge role in process management. Whatever work is currently done by the computer is dealt by these devices. So along with the CPU, you have the input output devices, the RAM, and secondary storage. Now the secondary storage plays a major role. Now if you have say you have typed a document with related to an exam paper or something, you have made the exam paper halfway and you have saved it. So I told you, anything that is being saved permanently stored in the secondary storage, especially in your hard disk drive. So now you're again switching on your computer on another day and you want to edit that same thing, edit that same document, right? So the place where you can find the document that you have already saved permanently is from this secondary storage device, right? Especially your hard disk. So what happens? This secondary storage is accessed by the RAM during that sort of a situation. That is where the secondary storage is used, right? Secondary storage is mainly used whenever a necessary document or file or anything that is permanently stored is needed by the user. Then the CPU instructs the RAM, and the RAM takes that necessary file or anything that is been stored in the secondary storage and make sure the CPU follows it and executes it, right? And remember, this process that is being done is done within nanoseconds. For us, it's in the for the computer, it's multitasking, it's doing multiple tasks, right? That's why we have under operating system we'll study multitasking operating system. So for the CPU, it's multitasking, but for us, it doesn't seem like the CPU is multitasking, right? Although our computer is kept at idle, uh, our computers don't actually stay free. They keep doing some work, right? Especially the CPU. When the computer is switched on, the CPU continuously makes sure processes are being done. So when it comes to process management, CPU plays a huge role. So remember the functions of control unit, remember the function of ALU, memory registers, and RAM, how it contributes in process management, right? So I gave you an example how these processes are done, and operating system also we will study about that, but I gave you a small intro, right? So with related to process management, CPU plays a huge role, right? So that, yeah, so that is about the CPU device and the other connected devices with the CPU, right? Any doubts so far till now with related to your hardware devices, input and output devices, your external hardware devices? Any doubts with that? Clear, right? Yeah. Okay, so that is with input output devices and main memory, secondary memory. We have completely covered the hardware side now, right? So now we will get into operating systems with related to software, system software, application software. Before that, you all take a small break and come. Okay, because I think I must have explained a lot for y'all. Do you all want a break or shall I give it around 6:30? Message in the chat. Okay, some of you no need break. Okay. Okay, then okay, fine. Okay. So then we will start with the new part, which is software. Okay, now when it comes to software, children, software, if you do not have the software, the computer is cannot you cannot use the computer. Okay, so when we divide the software, we divide it into two categories as system software, okay, system software, and application software. Under system software, we have three types. Give me a minute. Software. Okay. Under system software, we have three types. One is operating system that we will be studying now. Systems. Under that, after operating system, we have antivirus software, which comes under utility software also. You can say it as utility programs or utility software. Under this, you have software, or you can say programs. There is a lot of functions. Okay, under antivirus software, yes, antivirus software. We'll take it as utility software and give examples. For examples, we'll write antivirus. And you have you have a lot of task manager, disk cleaning software, right? Disk cleaning software, disk formatting, all these things we'll be studying about that. Task manager software, and you have you have a range of utility softwares, right? So I just wrote two for you all. So managing disk formatting, right? Disk formatting, another type that comes under utility, right? Utility programs or utility software. Third type, you can say language translators. So under language translators, we have three types. You have compiler, assembler, and interpreter. Interpreter. Okay. Under application software, you have only apps that are being used. Applications, various applications that are used by the operating system that's installed. Okay, applications of like MS Word, Adobe Photoshop, all these. Photoshop, right? MS Excel, the entire whole MS Office package. Under MS Office package only, you have this MS Word service, MS Excel, MS PowerPoint. Okay, I have just randomly given you MS PowerPoint. All these are applications that are needed. Now, you need to remember this the system software is necessary in order for us to install and use application software. Without system software, a computer cannot function. Okay, so a software is basically that creates an interface for the user to use the hardware devices. Without a software, you cannot use the hardware devices. The hardware devices cannot function, and the user also can't use the computer device. So under that, we study about this operating systems. Okay, so operating system is basically a system software which acts as a user interface between the user and the hardware. Okay, so it acts as a user interface between the user and the hardware, and the main uh, function of this operating system is to manage all the processes. Okay, manage all the activities that is taking place inside the computer, right? So whatever activities with related to storage management, network management, device management, process management, right? All these activities, managing all the activities is one main task of the operating system. Second main task is providing a user interface. Okay, and you have another function is facilitating to function through the firmware. firmware. Now here only I explained, last time I explained about the ROM, right? Now the firmware is also called the ROM. I told you the information that is written in the ROM cannot be erased, right? It cannot be erased. Okay, Kahoot quiz I'll give for y'all in a while, right? Firmware means it's similar to the ROM. Okay, it is a set of instructions that is installed in the computer when the computer is being manufactured, right? It is a set of program, or it's a programs, a type of a program that is installed in the computer when the manufacturer manufactures the computer, right? That's why it's a part of the ROM, right? It is a part of the ROM, right? It cannot be erased, it cannot be rewritten. Okay, it's already written, all those programs are written, and this firmware or the ROM only plays a major role in booting up the operating system. So under the booting up process, you all have studied about the booting, right? Now when you switch on a computer, the first thing you need to switch on the power button, right? So when the power is switched on, there is this set of programs called the BIOS, and you have the POST. I'll give the full form for each of it. And you have the CMOS, right? And you have the MBR, and finally only the operating system is loaded. Okay, now this whole part about BIOS, POST, CMOS, MBR, all these are managed through this firmware only, right? All these are managed through this firmware. So what happens is when the computer is switched on, right? When you switch on the power button, you have this BIOS. BIOS is, it stands for basic input output devices. When the power is switched on, the CPU, okay, I told you the CPU plays a major role, right? The CPU, when the computer is switched on, the CPU gets the signal and the CPU activates the BIOS, right? So what happens through this BIOS is this BIOS makes sure that the basic input output system of the computer, the input output relevant output devices are connected, right? And it makes sure the monitor, the keyboard, the mouse, all these relevant devices are being connected, right? And once after this BIOS verifies and checks all those devices being connected, right, it gives the signal to this POST, right? Power on self test, right? So power on self test is, it's also a program. So when this power on self test gets the signal from the BIOS, it activates this CMOS in order to check and verify that the input output devices are working without an error. Now suppose if your computer keyboard is not working, or the monitor screen is not working, before you get that operating system screen, that Windows screen, there will always, have you all noticed, there will be a black like a screen that in that you will get certain code saying there is error or there is a problem that is taking place for the computer, right? So this checking and verification of all these input output devices and the internal hardware devices to check whether all the RAM, ROM, all these devices are working is done by this BIOS, POST and CMOS, right? So POST and CMOS, the power on self test, it activates the CMOS and checks and verifies whether all the input output devices are working, whether it has any default, or if it has any failure, it makes sure the user gets that. So when if in case that it's not working, the user will get that information before getting into the operating system screen, right? So that part is necessarily done. If suppose this is not being done, then you can't use the computer, right? Then after that you have the MBR, known as the master boot reader, right? You have something called the boot reader soft software. That's also a program, right? So you will have this process called booting the computer, right? So this boot process is done by this MBR. So it what it does, it loads the operating system, right? It loads the operating system in the RAM, so the computer can activate the operating system, right? So once after these input and output processes and the devices are being checked, the mbr boots the operating system from the ram to the computer screen so that we can proceed and start working on with the computer. This process happens in nanoseconds, right? So these are the steps that it goes through, right? So this is how the operating system is loaded to the computer from by going through these processes, these stages: BIOS, post, CMOS, and MBR. You need to know what each function does, right? So BIOS, basic input output related. Post and CMOS, it makes sure that the input output devices are working without failure. MBR, it boots the computer and makes sure the operating system is being loaded, right, in the RAM. So finally the operating system is loaded to the screen. So that happens in nanoseconds, right? So other than that is with operating systems, right? So next part is this utility software. So now utility software is dealing with antivirus software, right? Antivirus software, these types of software should be installed inside the computer to make sure that the computer is being protected from any sort of a malware, right? You can call it utility software or utility programs, and under that you have the backup, task manager, disk formatting, right? And the fragmentation, defragmentation, all this process management related, memory management related, right? uh, and these antivirus software, all this is dealt by the utility software, right? Yeah. And then the third one is language translators. Now, language translators are basically translators that translate high level language codes to machine level language. Now, usually, the codes that we type, the English letters that we type, is usually changed into machine language and then only fed inside the computer. The computer cannot directly understand the instructions that we give. So this compiler, assembler, and interpreter plays a major role in translating this high level language, these instructions that is got through high level languages to machine language. So what is machine language? The ones and zeros. These ones and zeros only are the only is the only sort of a language that is understood by the computer. So the language translators translate high level language instructions or codes to machine language so that the machine can understand the instructions that is being given, right? So this is about the language translators, right? Clear for you all till that part, right? Application software, I told you, it runs on the operating system and it fulfills all the necessary activities of the users. Without system software, application software cannot function, right? Yeah, so that is about the system software and application software. Shall we quickly go through the different types of software so that we can do the Kahoot quiz, and I'll give you time till 6:30. Okay, I'll give you time till 6:30. We'll quickly go through the types of operating system, examples of those operating system, and the different services of this operating system, right? So then with that, your complete operating system chapter is done. So we have thoroughly revised hardware and software completely. right? So now under software, when we look into examples of software, now although we divide software into two categories as system software and application software, children, we categorize this operating system further into two types as proprietary software, open source software. There are different types of softwares that this operating system can be divided into. Okay, so proprietary software is, now under this you have two example, this Windows operating system, Microsoft OS. Okay, Microsoft OS and Mac iOS are two types of proprietary software. Proprietary software means software that you need to buy and get license in order to use it. Right? In order to use the proprietary software, you need to buy it, you need to get the valid license and only use this. That's why it's very difficult for us to copy the Windows operating system, especially if you want to buy the original Windows operating system, you cannot buy it because it's very expensive. Right? Mac iOS also same. Now, when you get a computer device, children, you all should you have to understand that um, some of these devices are without the OS, right? So in that case, in such most of these devices that come now presently, when you buy a laptop, you will have that, but after that you will have to install the uh, you have to format the drive, you have to do all those things. But if you are a person who is installing an operating system to a very new device, right, then you, if you want to install the original, then you need to buy it, get the license from Microsoft. For example, Windows, you need to buy it from Microsoft, get the license, and then only use it. Right? If you try, there are some people who use pirated copies. So pirated ones are duplicate copies. Right? Those types of copies you can't use because it is illegal. If you have been found that you are using a pirated copy, a duplicate copy of that software, then the company has the uh, authority to file a legal case against you, right? So that's why it's where most people, although people install Microsoft, most of, at present, people use the pirated copy only, right? Not everyone buys the original. So this Microsoft OS, the Windows operating system, right, and the Mac iOS or Apple Mac are two types of proprietary software. Okay, and apart from that, you have this open source software system also. Under open source, we have Linux operating system, Ubuntu. Okay, and then you have something called Hanatana. I think I'm pronouncing it right. This is open source of operating system softwares. Open source means these are free of charge. You can use these operating system. You don't need to buy or get license, right? And you can get the source code, meaning if you go to Google and you find, you say you want to download Linux operating system, you have something called source code. If you install that source code to your Linux operating system, you can use the Linux OS. Same with Ubuntu. Linux, after Linux, another type of operating system is this Ubuntu, that was introduced by the same company who found Linux only, right? That is also a open source software. Open source software operating systems are free of charge. You can use them without the need of buying or owning a license, right? And you can get the source code from the internet and install it to your computer to use these operating systems, right? So these are the two different other categories that operating system can be divided into. Operating system softwares can be divided into. There are other types of operating system softwares as well, but in your syllabus, these two are the two categories and the examples. So Microsoft OS and Mac iOS is a proprietary software. Open source software, Linux, Ubuntu, Hanatana. Right? Yes. So this is based on the ownership and the usage of operating system. Apart from that, you have other types of operating systems as well. Now, presently, the type of operating system that you and I are using is this multitasking operating systems. Okay, based on the functionality of an operating system, you can divide the operating system into different categories. So based on the functionality, the previous one we studied with related to the usage and who can use, right? Yes. So under the types and its functionality, multitasking operating system is where the operating system facilitates one user, okay, to multitask at the same time, use multiple programs at the same time, right? So this multitasking operating system allows one user to use the computer by facilitating the usage of many programs at the same time. Okay, so that is that, allowing one user to use many programs at the same time. The second category you can say is single user operating systems as well. Single user operating systems are operating systems that is used only by one person. He and she can only use, uh, only one person can use it, and one task at a time only can be done, right? So the first operating system that was introduced in computers was this MS-DOS operating system. So it goes through this command prompt system only, right? So it uses this interface called command line interface. So the user has to give the command. So for each command that is given to the computer, the computer will fulfill that command one at a time. Single user, single task. Okay, so you can call it a single user, single task as well. One user is able to do one task at a time. So an example of single use operating system is MS-DOS. For multitasking operating system, you can give examples: Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 11, Linux, Ubuntu, all of this, right? Yes. So this is the second type based on the functionality of the um, operating system. Then you have multi-user, sorry, Linux comes, yeah, multi-user operating system. Okay, multi-user operating system is multiple users using an operating system, right? Multiple users can use an operating system. Under that rules, the same examples, you can use Windows Server, Linux. You don't have to take it for multitasking. Take it under multi-use operating system. You take Ubuntu under multitasking, and take Linux under multi-use operating system. Multiple users are able to use this operating system, right? It cannot multitask, but it can facilitate multiple users to use this operating system. So Windows Server is one such example for that, right? And last one, the last type based on its functionality, is this real-time operating system. Real-time operating system are operating systems that gives us output instantly. For example, ATM machines and calculators. When you input data, it instantly gives us accurate information or accurate output. So those types of outputs, operating systems are called as real-time operating systems, and it is only the usage of it is very limited. You use it in very limited places. So these are the four types of operating system based on the functionality. right? The previous one is other categories that the operating system can be divided into. This is based on the functionality. Presently, we are using this multitasking operating system only most, right? Real time also we are still using it, but multitasking operating system only we use it mostly in our computers, right? So these are the four types of um, operating systems based on the functionality, right? So now we can try the Kahoot quiz. Oh, I didn't notice it was Azan. Okay. Shall we try the Kahoot quiz, or you all want me to finish the last functions of the categories of the OS? What are the other functions like memory management, device management? File, you all know that, right? You all want me to cover that up? Process management, I explained for you all. I told you all how a process is being um, conducted by the this one. It's done by the CPU, the RAM. I showed you all that, right? Kahoot quiz, you all want that, okay? And memory management also, you all know, right? RAM, CPU, hard disk drive. Device management, device drivers, plug in play devices, all those. If you all want, we'll do the quiz, but in the quiz, you will have these questions also included, right? With related to memory management and device management. If you're okay with that, then we can start. Okay, we'll do the quiz then. Okay. Then next part, we will start with, after the break, we will start with the MS Excel, right? The rest of the other notes, if you all want with related to the management, necessary memory management, device management, if you all want those notes, I can send it to you all in the group, right? By tonight or by tomorrow night, I can send it to you all. That's not a hard part. Just to know what the operating system does and how memory devices files are all stored, how those things are managed, all these things only you all need to know. Are you all aware about disk formatting, disk partitioning, fragmentation, defragmentation? Shall I explain that only for you all? That is with related to um, utility programs of the operating system, right? So I told you, under utility software is we have not only antivirus software, disk formatting, disk partitioning, fragmentation, defragmentation, all these things we have. I'll just touch on that part for you all, what these concepts are, right? So, and after that, we'll start with the Kahoot quiz. And uh, we'll, after the break, I'll give you all a small break, 5 minutes or 10 minutes break. After that break, we will start with MS Excel, right? Yes. Now, with related to disk partitioning, now when it comes to a hard drive disk only, we are relating this disk partitioning concept, right? So you imagine this is a new drive, hard disk drive. You know the hard disks is made out of several parts. For example, that actuator, spindle, the concentric circles of the hard drive. I think you all are aware about those parts of the hard drive, right? So now this hard drive is made out of several circles, circular metal. They are known as concentric circles. What this disk partitioning does is it divides a new hard disk drive into smaller logical portions, right? So the process of partitioning a hard disk drive into logical drives, smaller drives, is called as disk partitioning, right? This is when a new device, you say a new computer, which has not been partitioned, that means the hard disk drive has not been partitioned into several other drives. If it is not done, we do this process called disk partitioning to it, right? So this disk partitioning is the process of partitioning the hard drives into logical smaller drives. That's why when you open this PC, I don't know whether you can see. Give me a minute. You can't see my other screen, no? Mm, okay, so I'll show it to you all later. So now when you get a new device, a new hard disk drive, we divide that into logical drives. That is called as disk partitioning. Now, disk formatting is the further division of the hard disk drive. So now this hard disk drive already has this concentric circles around it. It's made like that, right? So when you divide these drives further, you divide it into smaller parts, okay? And each part is called as a sector, right? So these small drives, these small partitions of drives is further divided into sectors, and this collection of these sectors, okay, several sectors, only makes it easy for the hard drive to store files, right? Now whenever it comes to storing files in a computer, your files are not stored together at once as one storage. What happens is your computer divides a particular file into several parts and stores it in the hard drive in small sections. Those small sections only we call it as sectors. A collection of these small sections only together makes up a file, right? So remember, any sort of a document that you're saving is saved in this manner only. But you can't see this because this is all internal processes that is been happening, right? This is how the files of your computer is being stored. So the division of this uh, hard drive into small sectors and storing these files is done through disk formatting, right? So disk formatting is the further division of uh, a further division of the hard disk drive. It organizes the hard disk drive to be divided into these small sectors, right? So each file that you're storing, remember, it is not stored at once. It is divided into several portions, or you can say several parts, and in each sector, okay, now this sector size can vary. Okay, some sectors can be in MB size, some sectors can be usually the sectors are in the same size. Now sometimes you say one sector is 4 MB, the next sector will be 4 MB. So now this file that you are storing, if it's a document file, the first part of the document file will be stored in here. Then the second portion will be stored in here. Third portion in here. So this division, dividing a particular file and storing it, inside the hard drive is facilitated through this disk formatting. The disk format is where it organizes the hard drive in order to be storing the files, right? So this is only done through disk formatting. Now, other than that, you all have heard about fragmentation and defragmentation. Now, fragmentation and defragmentation is fragmentation is a small problem that is caused in the hard disk drive when there is not enough space to store a particular file in the hard disk drive continuously, right? So usually when a file is stored, like I told you, it's divided into smaller portions by the computer, and the computer stores each portion in the relevant sector in a continuous manner, right? Now if a particular file has it's huge capacity, it has a bigger capacity, right? Then this problem called fragmentation occurs, right? Now you say there is file 1 that is only 4 MB. Okay, say there is file 1, there is file 1, okay, that is 4 MB, and this Sector means a part of this hard disk drive that storage capacity is also 4 MB, right? Sector capacity is also 4 MB. If I'm confusing y'all, I'm just explaining it so that y'all will understand how this storage management is done. This is an important concept. I'm explaining it for you in detail, right? Yes. Now imagine this is the sector. The sector size storage capacity is 4 MB. The file storage capacity is 4 MB. Now, in this case, if the operating system is going to store this file 1 in the hard drive, will it be able to store the file in one sector? Yes. Why? Because the sector size is also 4 MB, so that particular file can be stored in one sector, and with that whole file is stored in one place only, right? This is in case of a small file. Now imagine this is a bigger file. There is another file called file 2, right? Now this sort of a file is around 12 MB. Now, can you store all this 12 MB size in one sector? No. Why? Because one sector, the size of it is only 4 MB. So, in order to store this entire whole file 2, what it does is it divides this file 2 into smaller sub portions, right? Not now, you have to remember, not every file is divided into sub portions. When it comes to larger files only, it's divided into small portions and stored in different sectors. If it is a small file like this, like file 1, then it is stored in one sector only. Now, when it comes to file 2, because the file 2 storage capacity is more than the sector capacity, what happens is the hard disk drive divides this file and stores it in the hard drive. So now when it stores it in the hard drive, there are times where the places, these sectors where the file is being stored cannot be stored continuously. They are stored. Now see, file 2 is divided into three parts. For example, say we are dividing file 2 into three parts. Now see, one part of file 2 is stored here. One part, if this is an empty sector, this is stored in here, and another part is stored in another place. So this problem called fragmentation is this: the storage of a file in different places in the hardware, okay, in different sectors in the hardware without storing it in a continuous manner is called fragmentation, right? Storing a file in different sectors in not adjacent places, not continuous, in other you mean in other sectors, or you can say not close by or continuously, in a scattered manner, then that problem is called as fragmentation. Storing of a file in a scattered manner without storing it in a continuous manner in the hard disk drive, right? So when such a file is stored, this problem called fragmentation takes place. So in order to solve this problem called fragmentation only, the utility program software, okay, that is mainly dealt by the operating system only manages it. You have something called the defragment, okay, option. You have this defragment option in the computer. If you click what it does is defragmentation, it organizes that particular file to be stored. It organizes that particular file to be stored in a continuous manner, right? So now all this time, this file which was stored in a scattered manner is reorganized and stored in a continuous manner, right? This is called as defragmentation. Fragmentation is where a particular file is stored in different places in a hard drive. When the storage capacity of the particular file is larger, defragmentation is organizing that file to be stored in a continuous manner without being stored here and there in the hard drive, right? So usually in Microsoft OS and Mac iOS, I'm not sure, but Microsoft OS, you will always have this uh, option called defragmentation, right? You must always do defragmentation in order to prevent your hard disk drive from becoming full, right? The reason why your hard disk drive becomes full and it's difficult for you to access your files certain times is because of this fragmentation problem only. Linux operating system, they don't have this defragmentation problem, this fragmentation problem. Why? Because every file that is being stored in the hard drive, whenever a file is being stored, uh, there is always some extra space that is being left out for the file. If say if that file is being edited again and they have to the operating system has to save it, then that extra space is used by the hard drive. So in Linux operating system, you don't have the problem of fragmentation, but Microsoft operating system, you have this fragmentation problem. Okay, so in order to solve that only, we use this mechanism called defragment. Okay, or defragmentation. Clear that part? Till that part fully clear for you all? We'll go into the Kahoot quiz now. Okay. So if you all have got a little bit confused about the sector or anything like that, just you don't have to remember all those. Just remember what these processes are. That is enough, right? Yes. I explained it for you so that you can get a better understanding of how files are being stored. Okay, and what this fragmentation, defragmentation process is, right? Okay. So we'll get into the Kahoot quiz. Give me a minute. Hmm. I'll share the link with you all. Wait. This is the one. Just check if it works. I'll share the pin as well. The pin, it's 179903. Okay? 179903 is the pin. All of you all quickly join this. Can you all access the link that I sent? How many of you all have joined? Can one of you let me know? Okay, one person has joined. What about the others? Only one person has joined. How about the others? Children, can you all hear me? You have to click the link and you have to join through your Gmail and enter this pin code that I have sent. Okay. Enter the pin code that I have sent. Only one person has joined so far till now. If you all quickly join, then I can finish the Kahoot quiz for you all and give you all the break. Only one person has joined. How about the others, children? I want the others also to join. There are 9 of you. Okay, it's loading. Okay. How come it's not working? One person has already joined, then it's definitely working. I want your feedback so far till now. How about what you all learned? Is it a good revision for you all? You all can share that also in the group while doing the quiz. Or the link didn't work for you all? Okay, you all can access like that also. You all can share your feedback also about today's seminar. I think I mostly was covering up with operating systems only because I'm going with some basic revision for you all and then explaining it in detail. Questions we will do it right after. I think we have time. We can do that. Once after this Kahoot quiz is over, I'll give you all a small break. After that, we'll do the questions with related to OS. Okay. Okay, 3 people. Okay, there's another person as well. 4 is there. What about the other 4? There's only I'll just wait for 2 minutes and then we will start. Okay, I think this is how many people are joining. Anyone else who can't find this one? Okay, there's 5. If your link is not if the link is not working, go to the Kahoot quiz site and itself put the pin. Then it will come. I think there's a small error with the function with the this one link. There's a small problem must be. But the quiz is working. Okay, we'll start the quiz. It seems like this is how many people will take part. Okay, I'm starting it. Is it working for y'all? Okay, one person has put the answer be CP. Only one person has got. Okay, only one person has got. Okay. Next question. System software. Which of the following system software? MS Excel, Windows 11, Adobe Photoshop, Google Chrome. Okay, Windows 11. Okay, only 2 in leading now. Primary role of an operating system: performing calculations, design documents, access the internet, manage hardware and software resources. After teaching y'all still, this is a easy question, children. Okay. Next question. Which unit of the CPU controls and coordinates devices? All activities, sorry. You have to, you don't check the screen, Zoom screen. You go to your, this one and play. Sometimes it won't be visible. Control unit, okay. Next one. Go to your tab and use it. Sometimes it won't be visible. Which software acts as an interface between user and hardware? Operating system, application software, firmware, utility software. User interface. Correct, right? Operating system. Okay, good. Yeah, there's a lot of competition among y'all. Sixth question. Which operating system feature allows multiple users to access a computer at the same time? Multi-user. I said no. Multitasking is multiple tasks at the time. Multiple users access a computer at the same time, a system. That is multi-use. With the this one itself, you all can find the definition. Which device is responsible for long-term data storage? Hard disk drive, cache memory, RAM, registers. Long-term means permanent. Memory registers, no. I told you anything with related to the CPU, RAM, ROM, CPU, RAM, and ROM. They only do current data, they only hold current data, right? Secondary storage devices, permanent. Open source operating system, example, Windows, Linux, Mac OS, iOS. All of you all got that correct. Linux operating system. Okay. The last question, the process of loading an operating system into memory is called what? Process of loading the operating system into memory. I told you. Booting, right? Not execution. Execution it's with related to executing processes. Okay, last question. What type of software is an antivirus software? Utility software, system software, application software. Under which category does antivirus program belong? Utility, right? Utility only. Antivirus programming, disk formatting, defragmentation, right? Backup software. All these belongs to utility software only. Okay, we'll see who is up in the rank. We have with 1,828 points Shahana, 3,758 points Sarah, and I think the last one is Farmila. All okay. Congratulations, girls. I think one of you, y'all couldn't see the question, right? Okay. So it's a good revision for you. I have completely tested you with all that you have studied, with whatever I have revised, right? Yes. So we gave a good revision on operating system, input, output devices, right? CPU and its functionality. Must be a revision for y'all. Now we all take a small 10-minute break. Now it's 6:56. I want y'all to take a minute break. Okay. And come at 7:10. Not, yeah, come at 7:10. Think more than 10 minutes. Right? All of y'all take a break. Come at 7:10. We will do the operating system questions. Right? If y'all want, y'all can stay back, or else y'all can leave the meeting and rejoin at 7:10. Join at 7:10. Right? I hope all of y'all had a good break. Okay. We'll continue with the OS questions now. Now I have only very few questions for OS because I have done enough and more revision. We revised a lot and we did the Kahoot quiz also. Can all of y'all hear me before I share? Before I share, can y'all all hear me? Okay. So then we'll start. I all the others are also there. We have to start with Excel also. So only under operating system we have very few questions because I gave through the Kahoot quiz also a lot of questions for you and we did a lot of revision. So I think that is more than enough for you. Now in here past paper questions, look at the question that I have given. Consider the following statements. Operating system, first one, operating system software can be divided into two parts as application and system software. Antivirus software and disk formatting software are application software. Random access memory is handled by the operating system. So they have given which of the above statements are correct. Okay. Operating system software can be divided into two parts as applications and system software. Yes, that is correct, right? That is correct. Antivirus software and disk formatting software, application software? No. Why? I told you they come under utility software. Okay, it comes under utility software. So utility software only manages the antivirus software and disk formatting software. Under that you have all the other utility programs, backup software, task manager, disk partitioning, fragmentation, defragmentation, all what we studied, right? So all those all utility programs. The random access memory, RAM, is handled by the operating system. It is handled by the operating system. Do you think it is handled by the operating system? No, right? It's not directly handled by the operating system, right? It manages the random access memory. Remember, operating system, it manages all the processes that is happening. It does not have direct control over the random access memory. The operating system does not have direct control over the RAM, right? So your answer should be A only. Okay. Second one, consider the following statements. Again, they're asking which of the above statements are correct. First, Linux-based operating system do not require an additional utility program for partitioning. I mentioned. I told you under this problem called fragmentation comes um, under this Microsoft OS system only mainly. Now in Linux-based operating system, I told you whenever Linux stores a file and those files are stored in separate sector, an additional small space is left, okay, for that file to be stored. Okay, an additional small space is left so that if there is extra data that should be stored later on, for example, say it's a document file that you're editing, okay, and you have edited it halfway. In the Linux operating system, when it stores that file for the first time, it will leave some amount of space. Okay, so next time when you edit it, that remaining space is being used instead of a new place, a new sector, right? So it does not require an additional utility program. Yes, it does not require an additional utility program, right? It doesn't need. Second one, fragmentation occurs when parts of a file are saved in different places of the hard disk. Yes, right? We studied. Fragmenting means where parts of a file is divided into several parts and it is stored in different places on the hard disk. Yes. See, partitioning of a computer should be done after installing an operating system. No, right? It should not happen after, it should happen before, right? So initially, when you take a hard disk drive, partitioning should happen before you install the operating system, because even to store the operating system some amount of space is needed. So partitioning of the hard disk drive should be done before installing the operating system. So the answers for this, correct answers for this is A and B, right? A and B only. Yes. Third one, which of the following answers includes an operating system, language translator, and utility software? Okay, now here we'll look into each of the options. Now, first one, it should be respectively in order. It should be in order. Linux, yes, it is an operating system. Compiler, okay. Task manager. Second one, task manager, Linux, compiler. Third, Windows Task Manager Interpreter. Fourth, Task Manager Linux Compiler. Right? Now, what is the answer for the fifth one? Can any of you put it in the chat box, please? Can any of you all put it in the chat box? This is a very easy question. What's the answer for that fifth one? What is the operating system, language translator, and utility software among this in respective order? Okay, one person gave me the answer. What about the others? Give it a try. If you have not done it now also, never mind, you all can give it a try. Okay, another person also has given. Put it in the general chat box, children. You all don't have to send it to me. Answers only. Anything other than that, you can put it personally. Okay, the first one. Okay, so most of you have told the first one. Why? Linux. Okay, operating system. Correct. Compiler, it's a language translator. And language translators, we studied three: assembler, compiler, interpreter. And utility software, I told you, this task managing software, process managing, backup software, antivirus software, disk formatting, disk fragmentation, defragmentation, all these belongs under utility software. So this is a is the correct answer. The first one. The second one won't come. Why? Task Manager, it's a utility software. It's not an operating system software. It should be in order, right? Then only Linux and the others. Third one, Windows operating, Task Manager, and Interpreter. This order is changed. If Interpreter was put before Task Manager, then the third one will only be the correct answer. So you all know this one, right? The answer is the first. Operating system is Linux. Language translator, among that, compiler is a type. Um, Task Manager is a utility software. Now the sixth one, this is an essay type question. It's a part of your O-level paper only that I gave. It's easy, not that hard. So it says Aruni is an O-level student. In addition to her studies, she writes essays that she submits to various newspapers. She has stored a considerable number of MP3 files in her computer. In addition, many digital pictures that she has taken are also stored in her computer. Her parents have also asked her to store all the online payment receipts on her computer as well. Now, see, there is a problem. We'll see what it is. Aruni stores all the files related to the above in one single folder directory. Okay, one single folder on her computer. Now, she has MP3 files, she has digital pictures, right? And she has also online payment receipts. All three are stored in one folder. Now, MP3 file is a audio file, right? Pictures are images. Now, online payment receipts, Same thing, right? But they are stored in one place. Now they're asking A, write down a problem that Aruni might face when searching a particular file in the existing storage scheme. Can one of you put the answer for that? Can all of you? All of you put the answers for that? The first one, what sort of a problem will she face when storing all the files in one directory and folder? Okay, so I'll tell it out. Most of you are not responding. Anyways, so the problem she'll face is one, difficulty in finding the files, relevant files, although it is stored in one folder, right? Finding those files and locating those files will be a problem, right? Finding the particular file, and it will take time for her to find that file also. Okay, so those are the two problems: searching the file, difficulty in searching the file, and it will take Aruni some time to find her file. Why? She has stored it up all together in one directory and folder. So that is the answer for the A. B. Following folder structure is suggested for Aruni. Match the folder tables labels against the folder names given in the list in the folder label name format. So now they are telling to this is basically to organize her files, and they are telling that to use this list of folder names to mark A, B, C, and D. Right? You're going to identify what A, B, C, and D. Right? Now A, B, C, and D, these A and B are main folders. Okay, so C and D is like a sub folder within a folder, another folder. You can create like that also. Within one folder, you can create another subfolder as well. Now, out of these lists, what is A, what is B, what is C, and what is D? Remember, you all have to think a little bit before putting the marking it for A and B and C and D, because there is a small category called hobbies. So under that, what sort of a file will come, right? Yes. So what sort of a folder will come under that? Okay. So A will be studies. Why? Studies is a main folder. Okay. And some of you have said B will be uh, B should be receipts. Okay. The first one should be either it should be A should be receipts or studies. You can put one, write receipts. Okay. Or you can put here studies, one of the two. Or here you can put studies or receipts. So if A is studies, your B should be receipts. If your B is studies, your A should be receipts. So the two main folders that is going to come for two options that is going to come for A and B is either you can put A as receipts and B as studies, or vice versa. You can do the other way also. B you can put as receipts and A put as studies. So music and pictures are going to be the subfolders under this main folder called hobbies, right? So under hobbies, it's obvious. Music is a person's hobby, can be. Pictures, taking pictures can, right? So with her problem, these digital pictures can be stored under this folder called hobbies as subfolders, right? So music is one subfolder and pictures is another subfolder that will come under this main folder called hobbies. And studies and recipes are two other main folders, right? Aruni can store. So altogether four main folders and two subfolders. So that is the answer for A, B, C, and D. Then third one, write one practice Aruni can follow to avoid her hard disk becoming full. What can she do to prevent her hard disk from becoming full? I told you under disk partitioning, disk formatting, we studied that if your hard disk is not formatted properly, if it has this fragmentation issue, then your hard disk can become full, right? So one thing that she can do in order to overcome this problem of hard disk being full, what is one thing? Okay, one thing, yes, she can regularly delete all the unnecessary files. What else? How about the others? Okay, how about the others? She can eliminate or delete all the duplicate files, right? So sometimes a copy of the same file can be saved in that same folder. She can delete those. She can regularly delete the unnecessary files, right? And use a disk cleanup tool also. So once in a while, she can make sure that she uses a disk cleanup tool. Okay, so this disk cleanup tool basically what it does is it formats the particular folder, right? And it organizes the files that are being stored and make sure that there is no any empty spaces in the hard disk which is left, right? So make sure all the files use the space, necessary space. So one thing, this disk cleanup tool can be used, and you can regularly delete the unnecessary files, right? Formatting also, that can be done. So those are the possible answers for C. D, write one practice that Aruni could have followed to avoid losing data in the event of computer failure. Now imagine her computer fails. Okay, best and the most, the biggest, strongest answer for that is backing up the files using a external hard drive, or storing it, or backing up, regularly backing up the files that have been stored is a good practice. That's the good answer for that, right? Regular backing up of files. That's the best answer for this question D. uh, so that you can do either, you can back up the hard drive that is already there, or you can use the external hard drive to back up whatever documents or anything that is stored. Basically, you copy the information in your drive and store it in an external hard drive. External hard drives are externally connected to the computer. You can use that to store a copy of your computer backup, right? So backing up files using an external hard drive, or regular backing up of files, and keeping a copy of your files that you have stored, right? In a, not in a USB or pen drive. Best option is the external hard drive, right? Yes. So those, that is one good practice. Okay, copying files to other storage media also is an acceptable answer. So those are the answers for question D, right? So you all must have some sort of an idea about these folders, how files are being stored, right? I gave you all a good introduction how this processes files and everything is being stored, how the hard drive is being formatted and partitioned, right? So this is up with the operating systems. All y'all need to remember a lot only under OS, hardware and software as well, right? Input devices, output devices, you all need to remember that as well. Now it's 7:30. um, so with this, I will conclude today's uh, seminar. We were able to only do one topic, but never mind. Tomorrow, inshallah, I will try to do the questions only as much as possible. Right? So make sure you all attempt all the questions and come. With the questions, we will revise the theory. Now, today I wanted to explain about the OS because it's all theoretical parts, right? So tomorrow's one we will do practical, some practical with related to database, MS Excel and HTML, and attempt the questions directly. So make sure you do all these questions and come, right? So with that, I'll conclude the seminar for today. Tomorrow we will focus more only on the questions. So you all can share your feedback also with related to today's seminar, and how you all learn. Tomorrow we can do more. Today we will only be able to doing the first only one topic, but tomorrow we will do the rest. Okay, focus on the questions and do it. So in while discussing the questions, I will explain the theory with related to those questions also. So you all can share your feedback, and you all can try out the other questions in the tute as well. Okay.